Well, I finally did it. After years of scrimping and saving nickels and dimes from my social security checks, I went out and bought a PlayStation 5 to finally play Demon Souls, the grandfather of Souls games, now going on 16 years old, and the remake is already 5 years old. This is the one. The game that gave birth to the greatest string of video games ever conceived by those genius nerd developers at From Software. This 2009 game reviewer immediately knew Demon Souls was onto something special when he wrote,
"The sense of pervasive dread and creeping tension is flat out amazing, and may well contribute to the dizzying highs experienced when you've beaten a particular level. No game in recent memory has rewarded smart, careful play and punished overly gutsy or foolishly heroic actions quite like Demon Souls. It's not cheap or unfair, really, it's relentlessly stern, and like a drill instructor, the repeated sapping of all your hard work that seems like the game is just punishing you eventually clicks, and you see those deaths for the key bits of training they are."
relentlessly stern, is putting it mildly. For an old title, this game dishes out healthy doses of merciless, in-your-face punishment that borders on sadistic cruelty. Deranged mobs, ambushes, falls off narrow walkways and platforms. There are 1,000 ways to die in this world, and you will experience at least 999 of those ways. The opening scene shows this crazy dragon, and sure enough, you will in fact face this dragon in the game for real, as advertised. The game delivers exactly what a Souls fan has come to expect from those wild and crazy Japanese maestros of the game world. And so as soon as that start screen popped up, I immediately pressed any button. And I could tell right away Blue Point Games did not screw up this masterpiece of a game like some hack might have done. I've seen footage of the PS3 game, and man, what a difference. This is a superb and richly detailed world. Such attention to detail. A truly beautiful work of digital wizardry that serves the game so well. The lore is sparse and disjointed, and it's hard to know what the deal is with the NPCs you meet, or what you're supposed to do. But that's been the bedrock of all of these games. They're rabbit holes that you can follow for years and years. Now, there's some complex world mechanics I didn't care for and still only vaguely understand. It's literally impossible for anyone to know what's going on without a wiki. And even then, it's all one big muddle to me. The hub is called the Nexus, and it's the model of every other hub in subsequent games. I like the quasi-religious and cultish ambiance and vibe of this space. Really creepy. The best and hottest NPC in the game is the Maiden in Black. Ooh la la, she's by far the best of all the Souls maidens. She looks like she'd make a totally fabulous trad wife. I spent hours imagining how she gets in and out of that sexy, tight goth costume. Buttons, zippers, I just don't know. Those dirty feet aren't anything a little ivory soap couldn't take care of. I'd gladly wash this maiden's feet. Her main task is waiting patiently for you to, get this. She wants you to touch the demon inside her. God, that's hot stuff. Yeah, she's clearly a very naughty witch in that sexy little black dress. Then there are other weird, quirky NPCs like this dude here. He looks like a skinnier, slobbier version of the Big Lebowski. And we also find Patches, that asshole who's appeared in every Souls game since Demon Souls. Some folks just never change, and Patches is proof of that. Then there's this creepy little Buddha-like man-boy or whatever the hell he is. I have no idea what he was mumbling about. I think he moves at some point, but he just repeated the same drivel, so I stopped talking to him. This is an S-tier world design, breathtakingly beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Linear, but elaborate and clever in its verticality and use of spaces. The starting gate area will forever be sealed into your brain. Some places are hauntingly beautiful, yet dreadful and forbidding, oppressive, damp, and creaky. Every place you go is depressing as hell. Scary as shit, inhospitable in every way imaginable. But oh my, some of the creatures in this game are mesmerizingly gorgeous and graceful. Look at that thing. But like all Souls games, there's danger even in beauty. And everything in this game is absolutely trying to kill you. Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of shit in this game. Freaking stupid mother-loving son of a bitching gaslicking. You said it, buddy. Some of the vistas are simply breathtaking, even if you can't access much of the greater world outside the various hubs. Which is a shame, really. But the technology just wasn't there back in 2009. Consequently, we have a closed but surprisingly large sandlot to play in. There are many unreachable areas which would have been fun to explore, but that would have to wait until 2022 with Elden Ring. There's a unique zen in Elden Ring, and especially the DLC, that even in a crazy, dangerous, and toxic world, you can still find places of solitude, safety, and quiet to just lay back and relax. Smell the flowers, the blue or red lushness of the earth, show off your buff and sexy body, or sit on a quiet beach thinking about nothing in particular. In Demon Souls, it's just one unrelenting challenge after another. You go from one horror to the next with little time to rest. I'm talking S-tier level bullshit here. We can easily see the origins of all the dirty tricks we've come to know and love in the Souls series take root in Demon Souls. Every destination you choose to explore is a hellhole where you are guaranteed to experience boatloads of misery and repeated crushing failure. The areas seem to get progressively worse as you move along, but nowhere, and I mean nowhere in the entire Souls catalog will you find a more dreadful, painful, excruciatingly difficult level than the Valley of Defilement. Yeah, it actually is as bad as its name implies. The valley is defiled. The depraved chasm is depraved. The swamp of sorrow is filled with tears. This area would become the model of the blight town of Dark Souls, but trust me, it's 10 times worse. The depraved chasm is a godforsaken level of diabolical cruelty with no peers in the gaming world, except perhaps for the next level of this area, the swamp of sorrow. It's the asshole of the gaming world. But that's also where one of the best swords in the game is found. The legendary Large Sword of Moonlight, which will go on to live in other Souls games. I went through hell and back to get it, only to discover you need to have a level 24 faith build to even use it. Thanks a lot, Demon Souls. This is the kind of bullshit that makes you demand to speak with a supervisor or whoever's in charge of this dump. But there are other ways to get your hands on the good stuff early in the game, like this sweet sword here. Even if you aren't powerful enough yet to use it, it looks badass. Heck, I look badass just holding this thing. I'd kill to wake up every morning looking like this. But what makes this game ball-busting hard is that there are no resting places between your starting point and that level's boss Fog Gate. You must get there in one perfect run. If you die in the attempt, you have to start all over from the beginning. This top-tier bullshit mechanic guarantees a long, risky, and costly run back to every boss. Consequently, once you finally do reach the boss, you are highly motivated to kill it just so you don't have to go through all that top-tier bullshit to get back to try again. The variety of bosses in this revolutionary game are good, and they're pretty clever and diabolical, each with their own terrifying powers and moves. Some were silly, like the Adjudicator, with that bird on his head. Completely ridiculous. We'll see variations of these bosses in future Souls games. And then there was that obligatory large spider monster. This one sprayed you with a sticky web that immobilized you, and spits fire too. And we find more than a few gimmick bosses, like this prototype of the Iron Golem whose ankles are his weakness. Chalk one up for the little man. Or the boss that can only be killed with a special weapon that just so happens to be conveniently lying around near the fog wall. I have no idea what I did to beat this impossibly massive flying manta ray. I just swung the magic sword, really. That ferocious dragon we saw during the intro is another gimmick boss fight like the ceaseless discharge from Dark Souls. After a grueling, punishing walk up to this beast, he just lies there waiting for you to whack him a few times before it gives up. And fire is still very, very effective against most bosses. We get to use the first version of the incantation Burno Flame from Elden Ring, which can easily one-shot some bosses. You can call in other NPCs to assist in some fights, although not to the extent this mechanic would be employed in future Souls games, but the foundations were already there. And the game has many exploitable tools that you can use to cheese bosses, especially with poison. Getting your hands on that poison mist spell is very, very important. I, for one, have no problems employing whatever tricks, loopholes, or glitches are available to reduce my pain and suffering. You can trivialize many boss fights with poison, which I was grateful for, since I'm somewhat of a coward in all Souls games. I'll happily wait 10-15 minutes for the boss to slowly die while I hide in a corner rather than go head to head and die, and have to do the long, torturous run back again, and die in one hit. You bet I'm gonna do whatever it takes to beat that boss. Besides, these bosses are big and scary and make all kinds of noise. Melee is for you young whippersnappers. I even cheesed the last big boss with poison. Never laid a hand on him, just the way I like it. But by far the worst part of every single boss fight is the run back to try again. It's punishing, unforgiving, and one of the reasons why I love the shit out of these Souls games. The game demands perfection, luck, and skill to get through every inch of its toxic, murderous world. The only thing more unfair, brutal, and merciless than Souls games is real life. Beating this fool's idol boss here was just as frustrating as dealing with the government, which is why I'm grateful for the many bosses you can cheese in the game. I'm always down for some cheese. Anywho, some of the areas in the game will drive you to the point of rage, tears, or murder. But we who have mastered all those other torturous Souls games know how these games work. We know the drill. You gotta get good yada yada yada, and Demon Souls is no exception. I didn't expect Demon Souls to be as hard, if not harder, than Dark Souls. This grandfather of Souls games is one badass old guy that still got it. It makes old men like me feel young and awesome again. And so I can only salute the grandfather of Souls games for its visionary, revolutionary, and groundbreaking contribution to what will ultimately lead to the greatest game of all time. A 10 out of 10. I'd give it the Nobel Prize of Gaming if I could. I thank you, dear friends, for watching. Hit that subscribe button when it stops spinning. And I leave you with this ghoulishly lovely scene from the top of the Prison of Hope. And as we all know, there's no hope in this prison. No hope at all.